Hi, guys. Welcome to the breakdown. We are back. It's interesting that we're doing back-to-back episodes because, that's always what we wanted to do, right? To have every day.
Yeah. Oh, no, we just got to get the time right. That's all.
Yeah, we just got to get the time right to figure this all out.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So if you guys all notice how glowing and beautiful that Johanna is, and I'm struggling. I'm struggling with the morning thing.
But nobody knows that until you tell them. So tell us.
I'm open about it. So I don't care. I'm open about it. I like my me time. I need to vent about it. So it is what it is. So no, we are so excited for our episode today. We have two lovely girls on today. And they were troopers to do this morning show with us. But we're going to be diving into Jinkies and human design. Johanna she mentioned Bella and Ashley and said, hey, we should have them on board for the show and learn about it. I'm excited because I will be honest, I don't know enough about it. I don't really know a lot about it.
Y'all know that I use it and everything that I do.
Yeah, you use it, you tell me stuff, and I go, that sounds great. Tell me more.
Crap, fabulous.
Yeah. Crap, fabulous. I mean, I literally know nothing about it. I mean, there's some things that I know, because I've used tools like astrology and numerology and seen stuff like that. And I said, oh, it's kind of similar aspect where you utilize a tool to figure out your makeup of your life and so forth.
Blueprint.
Your blueprint. So that's kind of neat. But I did go in because, I'm nerdy. Mm-hmm. I did go in because I'm like, well, where did this come from? Because I actually thought it was like Jinkies and human design were kind of the same thing. Like I thought they were.
A lot of people do.
Yeah,
I think that's a common misconception.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I, was like, oh, look what Wiki says here. I'm like, oh, wow. I didn't realize that it's actually two different people who had these concepts and they were kind of like melded, people are utilizing these two different tools together. So I thought that was really interesting. Just to give you guys a little bit of a backstory, what I read from is that with Jinkies was, by Richard Rudd. He's a teacher, a mystic, award-winning poet. Apparently, he went through some strange experiences with energy cultivating in his body when he was about 29 years old. And it lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. And he was entrusted with these Jinkies, with the wisdom of the Jinkies. And this was basically a living wisdom and these teachings to imbibe, contemplate, and apply in your daily life as you allow them to percolate inside you one by one as your troubles fall away. Interesting. I said, that's cool. And then I was like, well, where's everything about human design? Because I thought he was the guy who did human design.
And most people are usually like all into Jinkies or all into human design. They're usually like almost like competing elements, I guess you could say. But
Right.
Ashley and Nichole have really done that work of bridging them. So it's good. This is a good conversation.
Yeah. So then I went into human design, looked that up, and it's like, oh, it's originated by Alan Robert Krakauer. I think that's his name.
It's a mouthful.
And he basically developed this in 1987. It's a body graph map of genetic code that shows how our energy is here to correctly engage in the world. When you look at the body graph, you see how your energy is designed to mechanically navigate the world. So this seemed more like the science part. Like this seemed very dry and like I don't know. It just seemed very scientific.
Yeah.
Was that the way? Like I was looking at it, like there's very dry. So
I didn't know it's been around since 87. Like this, I'm so surprised that it's been out since that long. That's crazy.
Yeah. So the more you know, and I'm sure these ladies can tell us a little bit more. But let's without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to Ashley, Nichole, and Bella Krystal. Ashley bridges the wisdom of the Jinkies and human design to help you align with your divine blueprints. From the place of alignment, all things are possible. Her enthusiasm and activates your inner child. Bella weaves many paths into one, threading tantra and shamanism into everything she does. Bella is a professional guide offering one-on-one coaching, leadership, consulting, as well as online courses. We are so excited to have these ladies on board.
Woo-hoo!
Let's get them here. Here they are. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
So I have to ask you, how did you both get into this? Like, what did you guys meet each other, or was this like you were both drawn into this and then met each other in this world of Jinkies and human design? How did this all come about?
Somebody bridged us together.
Oh,
We didn't know each other, and she brought us together.
oh,
But
that's really cool.
I found Jinkies. I think it was 2016, I believe, or 16. And I was like looking for myself. I'm like, who am I? Who am I? Oh, let's do direct sales. I can figure out who I am and be a business person and not a mom. Like I had kids, and then I was like, I need me time. Let me figure something out. Who am I? Like when I have me time, what am I gonna do? I don't know. And then somebody brought me it and was like, oh, do you have your gene key and human design chart? I'm like, no. What is this? And then he showed me it. What is this? What is this witchcraft? And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I know this. I feel like I could read this. I feel like this is my jam. And I just got super excited about it. And from then on, I just dove deep into it, and I used it on myself and my family. And then on a dare, somebody was like, I dare you to make $15. I'm like, okay. And then I posted on my page, I'll do chart readings. And then like a ton of people signed up. And from then on, it was learning and going deeper through teaching and intuiting, because a lot of it I was just like pulling down, because I have a lot of open centers from my head, ajna, and throat. And so anytime I connect to somebody, I was like, oh my God, this is so good. I didn't know this. And it was just so cool. And then this woman that was in my group, she was like, you need to talk to Bella. We need to get Bella in here, because I was needing help with my group, because I just had my baby girl. And she connected me and Bella, and we started to create together. And now the woman that connected us kind of fell away, and now me and Bella are kind of super team now. So it's cool.
That's awesome. And how about you, Bella? How did you get into it?
Well, my life fell apart and I didn't know what was going to happen. So I had like a year and a half where my life was completely falling apart. I looked back on the 10 previous years and I was like, I thought I did everything right, but apparently I did everything wrong, because I felt,
I know that story.
It is a dark story.
I mean, at least you're honest.
It's a really dark story. And then and I just knew I needed to shift something, because it fell down like everything, health and relationship, and I had to move back to Sweden. And then I just knew I had to shift. So I said yes to a work project in San Diego. And then the second morning I sat on the terrace, I was eating breakfast, and I get something. Somebody sent me something so I can do my body graph, which is human design. And I do it, and I just know that there is something with it. One day later, I get a message from my friend. He has done the same thing, and he has signed up with Rosie Aronson, who did the Wisdom Keepers, which is it's human design. Jinkies, but she also does human design, right? Oh, okay. So I drive up the coast.
I too. I feel out of the loop. I feel like I should be getting this.
Yeah, don't you do like cards?
I do the same thing Ashley does. I pull a card from them every week to know what I'll be working through that week energetically.
Oh, yeah. And I might take that drive up the coast. So I drove up to Rosie Aronson. 3 days later, I sit on her couch, and
You met her?
Yeah. I drove up to her house. I was in San Diego, and I drove up the coast. And I knew on that trip that something new was opening up, and that everything wasn't wrong. So that's how it started. And then I worked with her weekly and bi-weekly for 4.5 years. But more and more I got into it, like what's Ashley saying, you can't keep it to yourself. Like once you get it and it clicks, you just have to, and for me, it was hard to say, okay, I leave my career, I leave what I'm doing, and this is what I'm here to bring in. And I wanted to bring it in companies. So I wanted to work with it in team dynamics, but then it was like, so why would you infuse a little bit of truth in the corporate world when you can like have anybody that wants to learn about it and comes to you? So that's been my journey, to be like, this is what I'm supposed to do. Why do I cling to something that is old?
Right.
So yeah.
God, and that has to be such a big epiphany moment for you when you realize like there's so much more than just what your old belief was or old programming, right? Because it's like, all right, I'm used to the 9 to 5. I'm going to help the 9 to 5 world, and all of a sudden it's like, well, why am I just limiting it to this? I can, and that's the part that's when I feel like you really hit your authentic self, when you realize that you have more and you're ready and willing to like completely dive into it and just go with it. Like, I'm just going to follow my heart. So I'm interested. I need to know more though. Like, do these work together side by side? Like how how does this concept of bringing them together, because it seems like a lot of people are doing this, they either bring them together or they work one more heavily on the other, like Johanna said. So what is the benefits of them working together?
First, I want to say that we're rebels. Like Ashley and I, we're really rebels. It's
Love
not like
People
it's not usually
don't
done.
combine them. People don't. They're like, especially human
I
designers.
combined them too.
Yeah, because we're cool.
Yeah.
We're cool.
I
We're
just
not
think they
scared.
naturally go together. I mean, it
I'm-
just makes
I'm
sense
a
to me.
heretic and you're a martyr. So like
Yeah.
we'll both be burned at the cross. Who cares?
And I
I
mean,
think I already was a few times. I'm good.
And for me, it's about the future. And they came, the person who invented the Jinkies, he studied for more than 20 years with the founder of human design. And they're using exactly the same, the same activations in the sky with the planets. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm certified in human design, and I get problems all the time because I'm not following the rules. And apparently, I've signed something, that is like, you're not supposed to mix this. But and that's also Rosie Aronson, who did the book that what you showed. She did the analyst program 4 years, and at the end she didn't get certified because she has open-headed ajna, which is that thing of like being really non-judgmental, and she didn't want to be limited. She does art and she does so many things. So I feel like it's new frontier. Like we don't limit ourselves. We are actually allowing these system to synthesize, and like they speak for themselves. And I guess actually that's what we can see. Of course we will bridge them, and of course that there's a benefit with it.
Yeah. They came to me at the same time. I'm like, that's how I learned them. So
yeah,
I
like
resonated with human design more than Jinkies at first because I'm someone who works with energy,
Yeah.
and Ashley knows that.
body.
But like, it's like my body has always been my instrument, being so clairsentient, and so learning the human design and Jinkies was for me. I had already been on my journey for a while, and so it was more of when Ashley did my first reading, it was more of a confirmation. And then I was like, but there's like something to this. And I was obsessed with human design in the beginning. And then Jinkies just kind of fell in behind it. And I started working with them together. So I just think that there's so many people that don't even still today know about it. It just blows my mind.
yeah, I think that the fad and the trend has been human design. Like a lot, it kind of opened up. And of course it did because it came first. And I feel that people are going to start working with the Jinkies. It's going to come in later because that's kind of how it progressed, and it's natural for it to be like that. But human design is definitely mechanical. I mean, Ra's a manifester, and he's very practical, and here's like this and that, and it is about energy. It's how the energy works within your system. And like Bella was saying, it is about the stars and their placement through the moment of conception and birth. So it takes 2 times to create your chart, 88 days before birth, and then when you come out of the womb. And the reason that it creates this chart is because there's this neutrino stream, and neutrinos are tiny, 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 tiny particles that can pass through anything. And they are, they have a mass, so they carry information. And so because they carry information and they travel so fast, they're coming out of the sun. They come out of suns and planets too, but mostly our sun is what's programming this neutrino stream. So it's the sun is sending off the neutrino stream. It's going through all the planets. And so in a second, it goes through all the planets. And then as you're coming out, it goes through you, and you get all the imprints of the planets, where they are in the moment that you were born. And this creates your kind of energetic blueprint. And so that's who you are. And it is important to know the time of birth because it matters. Things shift. Like the moon shifts very, very frequently. So you have to know what time you were born at because of the moon and the placement of the planet. So this neutrino stream we're swimming in all the time. And it is relevant right now because they shift every 6 days. So we have a new archetype. Yeah, a new transit, a new archetype every 6 days. And this is kind of like when they speak about like, oh, this is the energy of today or the month or what, that is it. And so this is a way to understand and kind of dissect what the energy is. And because it's every 6 days, it's way more accurate than, let's say, like, oh, okay, we're in Taurus right now, and Taurus is like this and that. It's way more specific. And when you
advanced,
can,
sure.
yeah, it's this whole mandala, and the mandala moves, and we get these archetypes activating, and you get to call forth them. So even if you don't have them in your design, like right now we're in transit of the 8th archetype, and this one we call it the influencer, but it's all about your uniqueness, your style, your contribution. And so a lot of people are shining their light and saying, I do things differently, here's how I do it. And so it's kind of perfect that you're interviewing us during this. Like it's 6-line cusp of the 20th archetype, so it's pulling in the future and bringing it here. And so how I'm shining is very like futuristic.
So tell us why people would want to dive into human design or Jinkies versus just having their astrology chart read, or like what are the main key components that are going to make these modalities stand out and help somebody? Does that make sense? Because I feel like people are going to be like, well, I already know my astrology chart, or I already know this, so what makes this like special?
Well,
in
I
that
would
way?
say that with astrology, you need to know you can know as much, but you need to know the aspects, and it can take 10 years for you to study all the aspects, because even if you have, like we were saying, your Taurus, or they say Taurus energy is going to be all the aspects of that. So you can basically get out almost as much. But this is what I feel for the modern person, because you can start to just look at that archetype that changes, like we said, every 6 days. You can start and know so much from just looking at a couple of planets. And that's your destiny, that's your incarnation cross, or your activation sequence. So basically, just by looking at the sun and the earth in the moment you were born, and like Ashley was saying, the 88 degrees before that, you have so much. And also with human design, like you were saying, it's an energetic blueprint. So you can see how the energy moves in the body. You can put 2 graphs or 2 people on each other. You can see how the energy moves between 2 people. So business partners or small teams.
I love that. Together. That's my favorite feature, by the way, seeing how people come together and how you complement or like destroy each other.
Exactly.
You just see it. And so anytime I like pull in a new person, I'm like, I'm sorry, I need to see your human design chart first.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so cool to be able to do that. And I feel like to trust your attractor field. Trust that you're getting everyone you're supposed to get, that the relationships are perfect for you. It's going to be what it needs to be. We just need to be open.
Well, how much do you not need the chart anymore, where you can just look at one and go, oh my God, we got a generator here. Like, do you guys like feel that? Do you like feel like you're dead on? That's cool. Now I was a little backwards. So Johanna did, like, we went over Jinkies and human design. She had my chart at one point, and a lot of the stuff was profound, and I'm like, this is cool. And then yesterday I had a transit reading with a really good astrologist. We're actually going to have her on as well. And I got to tell you, I was kind of blown away with some of the stuff that she was saying. I was like, hey, this really lines up with my Jinkies stuff that Johanna mentioned. And it was really cool. And what I really want to get across to people is, not every tool's the same, but you can pull off different layers. And when you need to hear it is when you need to hear it. So the stuff that I wasn't listening to when Johanna told me, I was brought up to my attention again. And I was like, oh yeah, here it comes. So there's a reason for these layers to be pulled off. And so I really would love to hear your guys or ladies' stories of some of, the differences that you've seen this make in people's lives.
Yeah, well, I mean, it completely changes people. I feel that especially for manifestors, it's like a permission slip to be you, when so many times you've been like told you're too much, or you're not in charge, or you can't do that. They're kind of here to be the visionaries. Like, knowing your role in the world gives you that permission slip to just, kind of ease into that. It gives you this peace of being, and it can be really profound, and it can be really validating. It just depends on what part of your journey you're at. Are you looking for yourself? Do you have low self-esteem? Do you not think anything of yourself? And depending on who gives you a reading, you're going to be able to kind of, it builds you up too, so that you're like, oh wow, I am so awesome. And the whole reason that, Ra Ra wants you to live your design through your strategy and your authority, but the purpose is at the end of the day, it's all about self-love, because if everybody's walking around loving themselves, then we're not over here comparing and competing. We're kind of staying in our own lane, as if there's any lanes to begin with. There's no finish line. There's no lanes. It's like, but people feel like there is, because that's the paradigm of society. It's like, get to the top and be first and work hard and hustle and do all this stuff. And we're losing this, like, the yin aspect, the receiving aspect, the feminine aspect. And I feel like that's what's happening now, is we're here to balance that and to receive and to also give to ourselves, because all these people that are just focused on what's my purpose and how can I serve the world. If you look at your gene key chart, it's not like you're not getting access to the pearl. You're not getting access to your role or doing until you connect to your soul and you connect to your being. So you have to understand your gifts or your genius, because that's what's you're going to give to the world. And you have to get into that core stability, that inner stability, and you have to do the work that's hard and unsexy and not very fun in the Venus stream, when you're looking at yourself, looking at your relationship, being like, can I open my heart? Can I be open to this world? Instead of giving to the world with an expectation of receiving, because a lot of people are giving to receive, and they think, right, I'm such a good person, like, let me do, and it's like, no, I feel like you're filling a hole here. When you can embrace all of your personality, all of your wounding, everything, when you can accept and embrace yourself totally, you come into this wholeness, and you come into this, I don't need anything, and what I am giving you is from the overflow. And that's altruism. And that's kind of the path of the gene key journey. It's like, uncover your genius and open your heart and share that with the world. Not, I'm going to be fulfilled when I figure out what my purpose is and serve. No, it's going to be self-serving. So it's like, how can you really get anchored into your core stability before you start thinking like, oh, let me give it to people. Don't give away your stuff.
I think that the most profound thing that ever came out of me going down that hole, and I've gone down it multiple times, even Ashley and I've gone down it together multiple times, but it was that for me, I am a manifester. And so it really helped me understand why my whole life, my people always tried to squash my light. I didn't understand that when I walked into the room, that my energy was so massive that people were like, you're trying to take all the attention, when I was like, no, I'm not. And I'm just here. And so I was always shamed for that and told, like, who are you? And so when I became into an adulthood, I spent my whole life trying to overcome and prove that I was somebody, when all I needed to do was accept that I am somebody, But then I also loved the quality, the purpose aspect, because most people who come to me for Jinkies and human design, they're wanting to know, like, what's my mission and what's my purpose in being a human? And I always tell them, like, your purpose is your quality of consciousness. It's how you experience this life. And it's way different than what you're here to do for humanity, because I feel like these gifts were given to us for us to realize ourselves, not before we go out and help another person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it really helped me understand the depths of my soul, not really the surface level. Like, this allows you to go deep into the well,
Yeah. So we're about 24 minutes in, and I want to really get in for the people here who are brand spanking new to this. Because I mean, you guys are throwing terms off like manifestor, projector, generator. A lot of people don't know what these terms mean. Can you briefly describe at least some of the breakdowns of, not like at everything a lesson and so forth, but just some of the breakdowns so that people can kind of understand where there's different characteristics into it?
That's Bella. Go Bella. Open throat will take forever. Blah, 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 blah. Bella's like, here it is.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say that it is astrology. So you could say that you have the mandala, like Ashley was saying, that's the astrology with the 12 signs. And then you have the I Ching, which is an oracle, a Chinese oracle around it. And that's like 64 archetypes. So wherever you go into the chart, we're going to say, okay, right now we are, what is it? It's May. So right now we are going into Gemini soon. So that's where we are in the astrology. And that's going to correspond exactly on that wheel to one of the archetypes. So we are never saying that this is not, astrology is there all the time. But the way that it's described is that the 64 archetypes is a more precise way to describe than to look at Gemini, right? So what we are going to have is that's the way that it's built. And when we look at the gene keys, you're just going to have 11 of these, that you look at, and you're going to see how do they work if you're contracted and if you're in fear, and how do they work if you're open in expansion. So basically you get a roadmap that is a frequency band that either your life are going to be how it's going to be in contraction, and it's going to even have a keyword on the very map to be like, okay, you can read those words and be like, okay, if I'm in contraction, if I'm in fear, if I'm not having my heart open, my life is likely to be, for me, for example, is dislocation, it's forcing, like I can see that that's my life when I'm in contraction. And then you have higher frequencies where you have the gifts. So for me, it's guidance and intuition, and it's the Jinkies can give you don't have to know much, you just have to have your chart, and you can see how your life works when you are in contraction and how it works when you start to open up for the possibilities. But you, like you were saying, Tanya, like when we realize there's something more, then you have the roadmap for that. And then if you want to go deeper, you can see those 11 are corresponding to different areas of your life. So one is more about your sexuality, one is more about your outer role, one is more like how your mind works. So you can even go in and be, okay, that's true. Like when my mind does that, this happens. So the Jinkies are, you can go surface level and see your life journey, or you can go really, really deep and be like, okay, this is the shadow and I have to sit here and there's nowhere to go. And when you sit in the shadow, finally, even if you think you're going to die, a door opens. And that's the magic of the Jinkies. It's a mystical teaching that it shows you to just be and to contemplate and to see what happens with your DNA when you allow those things to be pushed away before. So that's the Jinkies. And then what you were speaking about before, the human design, is much more about the mechanics of the aura. So it says, this is my vehicle, but I also have this thing around me that is either going to be contraction when I'm in my not self, and then it's like, I'm kind of taking in things and I'm struggling with life. Or if I allow my aura to be what it is, it's going to have a signature. And when I walk into a room, like we were saying, Johanna, that is going to be felt. And human design can let you understand what is your aura, how does it function, and that was Ashley was saying with the permission slip. It's you get to see those. It's going to be a little bit of a different way. It's a keynoting. So you're going to have like these keynotes that can be in the beginning. You don't have to look at all of them. You look at the most important ones, and then you have that with you. And what I feel for people is that's really when you have those keynotes, it gives you the permission to be you. And it's, for me, I would say it's cool with manifestors. We can speak about that, but it's so much for everybody. Even just knowing what we say, your profile, which is one of the first things. You're gonna have like 2 different keywords. And for me, for example, or 2 different chakras. So for me, I'm functioning from my heart chakra and from my crown chakra. And that's where I'm, so there are very simple things that are much more decisive in your life, I guess, than to know a little bit about your astrology. Because you can take these things, go out in life, know your aura, and make your, flow with that, make your decisions based on that, and always kind of coming back to be like, okay, yeah, I was functioning as me. I wasn't functioning from that, like being lost in the what we call the not self or the shadow. So it becomes almost like a thermometer. Like you can take a temperature on your life. Am I in my not self, in the contracted fear state, or am I in the expansive state?
Wow.
I love that, because it's like you're in flow or you're fighting against it. And from when you have those keywords, I love that you brought that in, because it literally can help you. When you start to learn it, it's like if you're present enough, when you feel that energy, you're like, oh, I'm in my not self theme right now. Like I'm not in my flow. I'm not in how I'm supposed to be operating optimally, with my heart open. So what can I do? And when you know those, just knowing those key words, like just knowing the surface level can help you shift big time and bring you back like out of that ego and into the heart energy and into that gray area. So that was a really good explanation, Bella.
Yeah. And I want to say one more thing, like the body, because that's what Ashley and I do. This is when you're saying, what can you change in people's life? The only reason why it wouldn't change in your life is that for you, it becomes a mental theory that you get so fascinated by,
right,
but you don't know how to bring it back to your life and to your body. All this is aura, it's mechanics, so something we can feel, and it's something that our body is going to give us feedback on. So it has to be lived, it has to be felt. If it stays in the mind, then it can be another fascinating thing that you're like, wow, I have to learn more, but it actually doesn't change your life. So that's what Ashley and I are doing. That's the embodiment work of it, and having people in groups that are accountable to come every week, and where we can say, okay, yeah, that's fascinating, but what's happening every day when you wake up? Like bring it back to real, bring it back to how you walk through life. How are your role model for your signature? That's what we are interested in.
I like that, because that's the embodiment is that's everything. Like if you don't bring it back to your body, then you're just chasing after your higher self constantly.
So did I hear this right? You actually, the two of you actually have groups that you bring people together and you work together every week, or is it like, that's really awesome. So you actually form almost like a community with them as well, so they can help each other out too. Very cool.
We have like about 30 people in our inner circle, and we just took them through the activation sequence for like, what is it? 4 months, 4 months. And now we're talking about the body. So this month has all been about the body. Next month, we're going to talk about global cycles, because there's a bigger thing happening. It's like, yeah, you can focus on yourself too, but there's a shift that's happening energetically for the whole collective. And we're moving out of an incarnation cross, an energy, a program, a matrix that we've been in for hundreds of years now. And it's about to shift in 2027. And this is the last 7-year cycle for you to deprogram, to get into your power, to get into your purpose, to stop comparing, competing, to kind of be there, to show up as you, as your authentic self. And Ra is the one that said that it takes 7 years to decondition. It also takes 7 years for your cells to kind of reset, reprogram. So that's why the 7-year thing. And in the Jinkies, there's 7-year cycles that happen in the inside of your profile. So we're helping people kind of, let's get you like running on like full capacity and like in your power, in your authentic self before it shifts. Because when it does shift, we're pulling in a new human. Humanity is evolving, and these children that are coming in, that's what this program is going to support. And so we need the parents, we need the adults, we need all these people to be showing up and not being like, oh, who's going to take care of me and wipe my butt? It's like, no, not anymore. So
and this is why so many people are here to heal the inner children of the adults, because it's when you heal the inner children that bridge is formed. A healed inner child is like a constructed bridge between the ego and the higher self, and helping us to shift from, because as she was talking about how we're going, this is the shift that we all always hear about. This is that shift that's happening. And it's a beautiful thing. And to see it show up in so many different places, and the way that you've described it it's really beautiful.
Do you have any stories about individuals that have really huge breakthroughs with this, when they just really had that aha moment by seeing all that? I'm sure you did 1,000 times, but is there anything that really sticks out to you that you can share with us?
I definitely tons, but there's something that, like, to track back a little bit on what we said about the shift. I feel that Bella has like something really profound that she kind of dives into that Richard and Ra don't talk about, because she's big on embodiment and tantra and the masculine and the feminine. And what Johanna said about the inner child work, it's like so much more. Like the SQ is the middle part of your profile, and I kind of wanted to have Bella kind of talk about the reclaiming the parts of you and the masculine and the feminine, because that's a super important part, and how we can kind of show up as our whole healed self. So do you want to talk about that, Bella? Because I feel like that's like your genius.
And I feel like people that come to us for a reason, what you were saying, like when we're in our aura. So I often have people that are in that gap, and that already are breaking through to something. And then it's like they are so ready. And what I feel, this is interesting, because I feel like there's a first layer, and what you first learn in human design and the Jinkies, and then it's like a mystical teaching. It's like a door in, and then you have to find one of us, like we're guardian, a portal guardian almost. And that's what we're doing. Like the inner part has another layer, has another story, and it's so much about reclaiming the whole part of you. And you can go back to this lifetime and look at your developmental phases from the first 7 years, the next 7 years, the next 7 years, and see exactly what happened. And that's going to give you keys to what you kind of left behind, until you maybe just become a being who lives in your mind. So what we work in the inner is so much with reclaiming the emotional part, the emotional and the EQ and the IQ together. I mean, we know that, but we really get your imprint for how to reclaim that, how to learn to reclaim your emotional intelligence, which often has been pushed away since you were 8-9 years old. And there's also this other pathway that with all the cell memories, because oftentimes we don't even want to think about what happened. Like, if I don't remember it, it probably doesn't hurt me. No, it's in your imprint, it's in your DNA. And that's what Ashley was saying too. It's not like only beautiful work. It's only to be able to sit in that shadow and remember, and even see like the mind mapping of your parents, and that everybody didn't have your best interest. Because if you don't see the truth, how can you reclaim your power? And then even deeper in, there's the feminine, the masculine, the polarities of the universe that you will see everywhere, anywhere. It's like how the universe is built, and that is always like a feminine pole, a masculine pole, and the relationship between them. And that's what you see in the very, very, very middle of the chart. And this is something that Richard Rudd did, but he hasn't launched it. 4 years ago, we who are ambassadors and people that were we started to study about it, but he didn't call it the inner feminine and masculine. He didn't speak so much about sexuality and life force. And for me, everything is life force, because we came from sexuality and life force. And for me, the core wound is always sexual. It always comes from that part. So if we don't go to these places and we think we can just look at the main layer, we're going to get a lot of insight. But really to change the very density of our physical form, which is our DNA, we need to go deep. And then that's the work that I feel that both Ashley and I, in different ways, we're so interested in. And we want to be there and mirror somebody through that process, because we were forced there. But there's also a way to deliberately do it. And like we were saying, there is a time now where there's the possibility to do this work. And when we do that, we are going to be able to be role models and guides, and, or more, it's more about, I guess, the courage to go there is going to both initiate and inspire other people to also do it, because they can feel that you're more transparent. They can feel there are less things stuck in you. And that is amazing, because intimacy and transparency is like what human beings long for. And that's what you get with those systems when you open that door, when you take away that veil and you say, there's nothing I'm going to push down. There's nothing I don't want to remember, because I want to be whole. I want to be whole. I want to be me. I want to reclaim. I want to be mental. I want to be emotional. I want to be physical. I want to be spiritual. And those 4 things in me are friends, and they are buddies, and they're going to work together. And when you do that, you have access to that seed energy, the masculine, the feminine, and it starts rising in you. And then that's what creates for you. And then actually human design falls away, because you don't make decisions anymore,
Yeah.
human design says, but your authority and your strategy falls away, because it's like, yes, this is where my energy goes. No, it doesn't go there. Okay, well, I don't know why. Ashley and I often, like, we see those things, like, what even in our own life, okay, I'm not supposed to move right now, or this is supposed, and it just starts happening. And that's what we all long for too. We actually want to relax in our lives and have things fall out naturally. And that's the flow, that when you start to decondition, when the DNA starts to activate, that's how life can be in much more ease and naturalness for all of us. And it's going to look unique and differentiated. And this is what we start to accept and wrap our heads around. I'm Swedish, so in Sweden everybody has to be the same. But with this, we're not going to be the same. So culture has to go out to the window in these senses.
I'm Swedish and German, and I totally resonate with that. But I loved human design for just with that factor, what you just said, because I was conditioned to work and be like a generator when I'm a manifester. And I always thought like something's not right here, but I never understood it. So it explains to you why you feel like the world or your parents or whoever is trying to put you into this box and you don't want to go in that damn box. And then someone shows you this and you're like, oh, I was never meant to be in that box. I have my own box, So it's like, you know what I mean?
It's a weird validation, right? Like it just validates.
It is a complete validation, but we have, and even for kids, like Ashley's got a bunch of kids. I have a bunch of kids. And it's like, when you understand how they operate, you no longer like, you need to eat at 5 o'clock and you need to do this and you need to do that. You understand how their energy works. And so you have more respect for them and they have more respect for you, because you're not trying to force people to do things that don't work for their energy type.
So I have a question for you. So I remember, Johanna, when you did my chart, do you remember how I fought some of the stuff? I was like, I'm not like that. So how many people like, and then I look back and I'm like, no, really, I'm like,
It's just people not ready to admit it or see it in themselves. It's denial.
Yeah. Do you find that happens a lot where people go their chart to be like, well, wait a minute, this doesn't even seem like me, or like, I can't believe it because they're fighting it. Like, do you and then all of a sudden they kind of unravel on it? Have you ever seen that kind of bridge? Because that's happened with me.
I mean, in the beginning when I was doing it, I remember one person distinctly. She's what was she? I don't even remember. Oh, she was a manifesting generator. And she swore up and down she was a manifester. Like, she's like, no, I'm a manifester. And nothing I said resonated with her. And then later, now, she had a reading with somebody else. And now she's like, oh, I had to decondition. And I thought I was this and that. I'm like, yeah, girl, I told you that a while ago. But some people aren't ready to hear it. They need to hear it multiple times. Yeah. But now I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with those people. So I'm not going to call them in. I'm just going to call in the people who are in the gap, that are in transition, that are like, I'm either about to jump, I'm floating, I want to rebirth, or I want to die. Like, that's what's happening. Like, me and Bella are like, we're going to be your doulas. Don't worry. We'll get you through this.
I love that.
They have to be open. Yeah. And they have to be receptive and want to listen too, because we're not here to convince. I don't want to convince anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
I'm not here to convince. I have an open ajna. I don't know anything, and I'm not certain of anything. So whatever comes through, it's in that moment, and it's for you. And then I'm going to forget about it. And
that's how I am too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there are two things. The only time I really felt that was when it's referrals. Somebody says, you have to do Jinky reading, and the person wouldn't have done it if it wasn't a referral. And then I can feel like I don't really get through. The other thing is that these are DNA activations. So when you start to pull the DNA, and I say it when we go live with Ashley, sometimes I have to apologize because I know that we go live and I'm start pulling the DNA. So what I often feel when people buy a package, they do their first session, and usually I say, when somebody's already in their inner work, I'm like, let's schedule, Wednesday, and then we meet. But what happens often that there is a lag, so there can be like first session 3 months, and then they're ready.
Oh, okay,
because we are pulling and activating, and we are not used to that. We're used to kind of push away and put in the wardrobe, and and even our emotions. And this is emotional work. This is opening up the astral body to be able to receive more. But if you have stuffed things down there, it can activate things that need to be kind of seen and integrated before we can move on. So that's what I would say. Sometimes there is some cleaning work before you can move on.
And that kind of goes
that was 3 years ago when I did Tanya's reading. And it was I was still learning it. And so I was like, let me do a reading. Like, let's go into it, So she didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
And also the two systems. Like, that's the thing. If I would only do human design or Jinkies, maybe people are either very mental or then they could find. But when you do both, it's like you disarm them, or how do you say? Like,
they can't argue with that. It's
forget it anymore because it's
this is you. Here's the proof. You want to come at me?
Yeah. Well, and I think it's awesome for the people who, it's almost like it helps them to see physically. It's like it helps their ego to understand something that maybe they're not quite open to all the way yet. So I really believe it's a door. It's a door that, just really opens it to all the other things that are out there. And I like that it starts with you. It's not about learning a modality so much of for other people, like say like Reiki or something. Like this is something that's legit for people to go inside of themselves. And so I really like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to be spiritual or woo or anything.
Right.
I mean, it can be very heady and mechanical, and it can reach people at all levels. Even though, like, my husband still resisted. He's like, "That's fake. Why are you selling people fake stuff?" I'm like, if you would be open and like not be deaf, like his vocation is deafness, and of course he doesn't want to listen to me because he has his own voice and truth and knowing, and it's not a system that you have to speak the person's language. And sometimes people will resonate more with Jinkies or human design or something else. Like if I talk Star Wars lingo and talk about the Force with him, he's like, okay, the Force.
I'm with them too. I'm there. You got my attention. Now it's true. And I think I do want to go back to a statement because Bella brought up a good point that you actually said too. It is important that when people are not ready, right, and they're going in there, that they are at the right time, at the right place. And at their point of where they are, and just allowing that in there. Because Ashley, you really said that too, is that everybody's here for a reason, especially when we meet them and they do resist. And it's like, okay, well, there's a reason that they're here right now. Like it's either to help clear me or help clear them. But, you know, you meet people for a reason. And that's what I think is so cool, is how everything interlaces with one another, because it's collective. Everything is collective in that essence, and especially with energy. So it's really cool that Bella, you touched on the fact that it activates you, you know, and there's this whole activation thing that happens. And even I do feel like that when you are with somebody, you are sharing energy. So what do you think with that energy exchange? Do you find that people aren't even realizing that energy? Like, I don't know how to describe this. Is it like, do you think that people aren't even aware of that at part of it, where that energy exchange is actually what is really doing the changes to them? Do you know what I'm saying? Versus like actually getting a reading or getting any kind of support from people?
Should I answer, Ashley, or do you want to answer?
Yes, for you. I can answer too, but that's for you. Why does it activate your DNA? Like, what's energetic about it? And maybe even tell them like what you do after you have sessions, because some people maybe aren't open to the energy flowing and activating. So talk about, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see it a little bit more in our membership group, that I see people that come and they want to learn the system, and they kind of want to turn off their camera and they don't want to answer questions. And like in me, it gets like, what are you doing? Like you're missing out on the opportunity, right?
Yeah,
so I can see people do that but when they work one-to-one, like, you know, it's, even if it's virtual, like everything is quantum physics. So there is no way. They thought maybe they signed up for a reading, but it happens. And it's not like you're not aware. You are aware. And my body, like you were saying, Johanna, it's my sensor. So what I often have to do now, and it's not even like, it doesn't even say it's on our website, but what I often, when I work with people that have so many things in those layers that we're speaking about, the 4 layers of what it is to be embodied, that I just have to say, okay, after this, I'm wondering if you would let me do, you know, if you would let me ask for your energy, if there's anything that needs to activate, that needs to clear, that needs to integrate. And I would, usually I just get a hit, like I need to put on drum music, turn off the lights, and I would just maybe, you know, shake and like feel like it's not a mental thing. It's like you say, Tanya, it's energetic. And then many times I have people that felt more from those 15, 20 minutes than from the Heat World reading. Wow. Because it's all energy. So sometimes I wish that I could just not have to speak for my mind for an hour, but I could just do that right away. And maybe future.
Maybe I
resonate with that, Bella. I resonate with that one big time. And I don't even, you know, what's funny is I always make this disclaimer when anybody has any kind of session with me, that just listening to my words and working, you're going to receive energy. Because in my body, with my body being the instrument, and I was wondering if, Bella, you're the same way. Like when we're just having a discussion with a session of somebody, my body has already began the process of doing the work, and my team's already in there, and I'm not even doing anything. So do you feel that too when you work with people? Do you feel that happening?
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And like with 3/5s, I kind of even sometimes have to do toning with weird noises. They're primal, and I'm like, what am I doing? And this is recorded.
Let's do a tone. Let's do a tone.
I do the same thing.
I do the same thing.
Yeah,
she'll just
Bella,
break
what is
out.
your profile?
She's not the same as you.
Sexual generator, and I have nothing in my emotional, so I'm like here and now, and no, nothing is like, you know, it's just here and now. That's why the intensity is there. There's really a lot of intensity.
She has the 7, like, I mean, there's some similarities. She has the 7 like you do, but it's more like this transmuting that happens in her vessel, and she's like open to that, you know. And I feel like too, she's I don't know what we were reading or but there was something that we found that kind of led us to believe that Bella kind of takes in all of the energy, whether it's good or bad, the shadow. She's not afraid to go there. Like, just, I mean, Johanna, you know, you're a shaman. I like to go into the dark places too. And Bella will take it in and like turn it into nectar. It's like her whole body has to do it. So she'll breathe a certain way, or she'll like feel the energy, and like she'll get all hot. Like, you know what you feel like when you're like, like
when you see me sweating and my face beat red.
Exactly. Like that's what happens. I feel like everybody has a key, and you have to. I remember you doing a post or saying something, Johanna, about this. Where there's no levels of anything. right? It's like we meet each other where we're at. So we are pulling in the people that we need and they need. And if you can be the observer while you're giving the reading, it's a mirror. And so you have to kind of also listen for the things that are for you too, while you're channeling for them or reading for them, especially if you have open head and ajna or anything. When you're pulling it through, you'll get some nuggets for you. Like anytime me and Bella do a reading, I'm like, what's the theme here? What's happening? What's for us? Because you're exchanging keys. It's not like, oh, I am so amazing and I don't need to do any work. And let me just share all this. It's not even like that.
Yeah.
It's equal.
I have the 17 to 18 channel. And so, and Omniscience is my core. And so I am always observing myself, no matter right now, like there's a version of me that's over here watching me. And I'm always aware of the different layer, of me being observed and me being the observer. And so I live in that state constantly. And I remember doing that as a child, but not understanding what the hell was happening, because I was constantly in this loop. So when Tanya and I come together, we create like this portal of energy between us. And when Ashley and I come together, our computers break and burn up battery. We open up a giant portal. So it's fun to connect with other people and just see how just that energetic connection between two people, you just seeing what happens. Like it's just the quantum energy field is just so amazing. I just can't talk enough about it. It's just so much fun. And
I love how, Bella, you said you utilize your body, because that's how I utilize when I connect to people, is my body. But and I haven't really talked about this, and Johanna knows this, but I said to her, I said, when I read people, I said, I have to, before I connect to them, I got to move funny. And she's like, what? I'm like, I got to move. And I said, but I don't do it on camera because I look like a crazy person. So I said, but I've been doing that since I was a child. And that's how I connect to, I get up and I get there. So it's interesting you say the movements of your body, because that's exactly what I do before I even get into my readings or personal readings or do an energy exchange in that level. So I can't wait till we dive deep into that, into another episode with that. So I'm looking forward to that. But are there any things about your guys' programs? Because we have got 10 minutes here. And I feel like there's so much, we can go on forever,
hours.
Honestly, I feel like we go for hours. Are there any key points that you guys want to bring up that you think are key for people to know about this that we might have missed on?
I have one, and that is that because we might think that this is going to be a limitation and a label on us. And what I want to throw that out of the window, because that's a misconception. This is not going to limit you. This is not going to be a label on you. It's going to make you understand how your aura, how your vehicle, how your energy works in the world. And there's nothing limiting about that. So we are not boxing people in. That's the opposite. This gives you a blueprint, but it's not a prison in any way. That's the most important thing of everything we have been saying today, I think.
That's good, because it's meant to be empowering.
Mm-hmm. If you stay in your head, though, you will stay in that box. And it's about using it to realize what a box you've put yourself in, and then unboxing yourself. And then eventually you don't even need the systems, and you just know how to flow and operate. But it's about that deconditioning process. It's about trusting yourself above all else, like trusting your center, trusting your authority. And that authority doesn't have anything to do with Jinkies, human design. That it's like, you find your core, you find your stability, and there's no labels for that either. It's just this. I know when I'm out of flow. I know when somebody's in my field. I know when I'm doing things for the other. I know when I'm wounded, when I'm in my not self, and I don't even need to use those terms anymore. Right. Is what you get to at a point.
I like that you said deconditioning, because in the times that we are in, over the last 2 years, my team's been preparing for this and saying, we're going through this process of breaking you down so you can basically be free, right? So it's like breaking the walls down, and bringing you back. And in the times that we are in, this is the perfect time to go through that deconditioning, because you can see all of the power over coming in to try to keep you in that conditioning. So if you're looking for a way to help you break down those walls, this is a really good place to start.
Yeah. And I also want to mention that the more you work with this, and the more you start clearing the dense shadows, the dense stuff in your field, the quicker and faster things start manifesting for you. And it's just I've noticed that just over this last year, that I'll be working on something and then boom, in my reality, I'm like, oh man, that was fast. And you get to choose. It's always a choice. Do I go back with the pattern I used to have, or do I choose something different? And I've like kicked myself repeatedly. I've been on like a call with our inner circle membership, and we were talking about something, and then my husband shows up and I get into a pattern. I'm like, did you guys just, I mean, this is what happened. And then like we talk about it, and then I shifted, and I'm like, I chose the pattern again, because that's what I'm used to. But then I was mindful of it. And this is a system to help you be mindful of your patterns so they're not running unconsciously. Because yes, like Tanya, you were saying in the beginning, that's not me. Well, you have a defined personality. That's your black personality sign on your human design. And that's something you can say, oh yeah, that's me. And then you have the red, which is unconscious, which you may not recognize. It's like the iceberg below the surface, and there's so much stuff there, but you don't realize it's there.
10% of like 5 or 10% of you is actually only a conscious, meaning in your awareness field, and the rest is subconscious and unconscious. And then the unconscious level, that's what's in your body. And that's a journey that I went through last year, was diving deep into the unconscious, because when you stay in that surface level, or it's almost like a disconnection between you know the information and you understand it and you're enlightened by it because you've expanded your awareness, but you haven't embodied it and cleared your density like you guys are doing, right? So you're running forward with the higher self knowing, but you never brought that back and embodied it. So then you're just dragging behind your inner child in your body, and in your body is all the karma. It's all the epigenetics that was passed down. It's all the shit that people are like, no, that's not me. And then like 2 years later, when it surfaces, they're like, shit. There it is. So it's a matter of, that's what I'm always like, for everything for me, is it has to be embodied. Like I can't do anything without embodying it, but that's who I am. You know what I mean? So it's really important.
You don't even share anything until you've gone through it, because that's the role of the 1-3. It's like you're here to kind of have that trial and error, and the potential, the possibilities. You're here to like do it, and then you empower yourself through it, and then you teach it and share it. Yeah. So it's all about understanding how like your process works. So that's kind of, I mean, we have a couple things that we're doing. Like first, I did want to share about, me and Bella have this year-long project that we've been doing. It's called the 64 Doors. And what we're doing is we're bridging the gap between Jinkies and human design. And we're bringing these archetypes to life. So remember how we talked about human design? Those are gates. Jinkies, we call them keys. And then you have a system that's even older than all of them called the I Ching, which are hexagrams, which are energy that each of these are built on. There's combinations that make 64 of these archetypes. And so when we bridge them together, we make these archetypes come to life. So instead of like reading the super like dry material that Ra puts out, because it's very practical and mechanical, and then Richard's very like poetic and like,
he's a
what the hell is he saying? And this was like 10 pages, too, and I'm like, what's happening here?
I have to Google some of his words sometimes. What does this even mean?
And I love him for it. Song. He's like the feminine, and Ra's like the masculine. And then you bring them together, and me and Bella have been creating with the team. We've been creating these archetypes. So right now, like we said, we're in door 8 with the archetype. We call it the influencer. And tomorrow or the day after, we're opening a new archetype. And these archetypes, you can go and look on your profile and be like, okay, I have 3 in my profile. And I'm going to go on the 64 Doors website, and I'm going to go in door 3. And this is going to show me the eternal child. And then you'll have a grounded way to kind of tap into these archetypes and then embody them and kind of start working with them. So we have tons of resources on the website to kind of simplify, make it practical, make it more grounded, and bridge the gap between the systems where they're like, we're not friends. Oh, we're going to make you friends.
You guys, really cool. This thing that they're doing, I've been a ambassador or whatever they want to call it, but it is massive, and it is so amazing and so resourceful. And if I just wanted you guys to come on here to share that, because it's amazing what you guys are doing with that. And I think it's just, there's nothing other I can say. It's amazing. And it's something that you guys need to sign up for and take a look at and just get your feet wet in, because the way that they do it is really awesome. And I just want you guys to know that.
And that's on the website, Unlock Your Design, correct?
Yes.
I
you
think
can
that's
go
it.
there.
free.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
other thing. It's free. It's
Okay,
like a full-time
okay.
job, but it's free.
All right. I have it up on screen, but it's Unlock Your Design for our audio folks who listen to our podcast. But you need to absolutely check them out because I mean, listen, I haven't even dived in there, but the fact that you guys break it down and we're on the breakdown, I'm intrigued.
Break it down. Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm like, well, here we go. Tanya's going to go down the rabbit hole.
Did you
Yeah.
want to share anything else, Ashley, about
Yeah.
any other offerings?
Yeah, if you do want to work with us, we do live chart interpretations, we do full readings. We have an inner circle, so if you are wanting to dive deeper into it with the community and to have that transformation and to kind of get into embodiment, I would definitely check out the inner circle. That's our membership community. That's on the website too, so you can just click on, you'll find it there. It'll be easy.
Cool.
And there was one more thing, but it's gone now. So yeah, just follow us on Unlock Your Design on Facebook. We do tons of videos, and we have interviews and chart readings, like I said. And then Bella's group is Living Matrix on Facebook, and my group is Your Life by Design. So you can find us there. And if you're wanting to do the work, and in the investigation by yourself, you can kind of be like that super sleuth and just come into our groups and kind of see like, do I like them or not? Do I want to do anything with them? Just go and be in our energy for a little bit, and you'll know if we have what you are wanting, if there's something to exchange, some keys that need unlocking or blocks that need unlocking.
That's awesome. We'll make sure to put that in the description box for everybody too, who because that was a lot of information, and I think it's awesome.
Or just to make friends, to find like-minded people and that are exploring themselves in a supportive community. Like Ashley's community is awesome. So
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about what you two are doing.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure meeting other people and utilizing all their gifts and seeing them, and that's what the show's all about. So we were really excited to have you two on board. So thank you. Just to give you guys all a heads up, for next week, we are still back onto the morning, and we're probably going to be switching this though. We got to let you guys know we are going to be switching this back. So
we tried it.
We tried it. We tried it. It didn't work. And you know what? I kind of felt like when the Viona episode got smugged in the morning and we went yesterday in the afternoon, that was, basically a wake up call for us.
Yeah.
But no, we appreciate you ladies being on here for our evolution of trying the morning show. But anyway, next week we have Linda Mitchell on, who we are going to be discussing fairies, dragons, and elementals. So that should be interesting. And
I'm not excited or anything.
Yeah. She's going to be getting her pixie dust out. But anyway, guys, you guys have a good week, and we will see you guys next time. Take care.
Bye.